back to another episode of Inside Access Control, sponsored by SIA. Excited to have Bruce Schwartz with IDEMIA with me today. Bruce, thank you very much for taking the time to tell us about yourself and the company.
Yeah, Lee, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate the chance to come on here. I've been reading your column for a while and listening to your podcast, and I certainly enjoy it.
I appreciate that. See, for that, I'll take any accolades, so thank you very much. Before we jump into the actual product itself, do you mind just give a background of yourself? You've been in the business for quite a while and have seen a lot of things, so I think your history is great. So why don't you let the audience know what it is, and then we'll jump into the company.
Absolutely. Well, my first job in this industry was actually in high school, working for one of my social studies teachers who was a friend of my mother. He had an alarm company. Believe it or not, I was his attic rat. Mostly what we did was apartments, and we did Demco alarm panels. And the recurring revenue back then was replacing the dry cell batteries every 6 months. That was pretty much how it worked. And so he used to give me those contracts so I'd have a little extra money coming in. And that was how I got started. And then I moved out to California and I was a locksmith for about 15 years. I owned my own systems integration company called Metro Security Systems out there. And moved back east. I worked for Arius, which was a large distributor. And then I went to ABI. I've worked for several companies since then, BioScript, IEI, among others. And for the last 13 years, I had my own rep firm, Schwartz Security Sales and Marketing. And I was the IDEMIA rep. They offered me a position last year, and I came on board in October to be the Southeast Regional Sales Manager.
Very nice. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the company itself? It has a rich history also, and it's very active within the biometric side. So
yeah, it's probably the largest biometric company in the world. What most of your readers and listeners are going to see and know about us are the products that are behind me right here, and a few others, but our access control products. But we actually are we are the main supplier for the FBI for their APHIS system. We do an ID system for the entire nation of India with over 4 billion biometric templates stored on our devices. We are doing, if you've enrolled in TSA, you were scanned with using an IDEMIA scanner. The new entrance at the airports now, if you've seen it in a few places where instead of you showing your boarding pass or just taking a look at your driver's license, and that actually brings up the entire database of boarding passes in front of that TSA agent. That's an IDEMIA product as well. So we're all over the world with different projects. We're consistently ranked #1 in NIST tests and by Frost and Sullivan. We have an automotive division. We have a financial division. Part of our company makes chip cards as well. So we have 15,000 employees. We're a multi-billion-dollar company headquartered in France. We are the merger of two companies, Overtur, which was the largest manufacturer of chip cards in the world, and Sagem, which was the company that owned the Morpho line of readers. And so that's where we are now.
Yeah, definitely an 800-pound gorilla.
Yes, absolutely, especially in the biometric industry.
Yeah, so why don't we talk about that? With the current pandemic that we've had, and sort of you saw the uptick, overnight, because it was temperature, you have temperature readings, and biometrics got into this because people wanted to use facial instead of the finger. I think if we're being honest, the biometric industry has had some interesting times over the past couple of years when it comes to the adoption. Very specific on verticals, but I'm talking when you get into the commercial side. It's I would call it lumpy in some areas, right? If that's fair. But now it seems to be getting a lot of attention just because of what's going on right now, and it's seen as a solution. So maybe you could speak a little bit to what you're currently seeing in the market, and then what your best, if you have your crystal ball of how you think this is going to pan out, because right now it's sort of the rush where like everyone needs a hammer. And then at some point it sort of calms down, right? And then people start to apply solutions that make sense. So, how do you, A, what's going on currently right now as you see it, and then B, what do you believe the long term is going to look like?
All right, well, first of all, activity is through the roof, and I'm sure that's true for a lot of people out there in the security industry. I've got 5 conference calls a day, doing live product demos, calls with customers, quotes. What we're seeing mostly are requests for contactless, frictionless biometrics. We have 2 products in that market that we're offering. The MorphoWave Compact, which is it's a fingerprint reader that reads all 4 fingers on the hand at once. And it's a wave, we call it the wave. And you just wave your hand through it. It's actually this little device right here. Wave your hand through without touching, and it lets you in. So, and then the other product, which we just released last month, is our new Vision Pass facial recognition reader, which is so new I don't even have a demo unit of it yet. But we're seeing a lot of our existing quotes, people coming back to us and saying, let's requote this with the frictionless product. We're getting a lot of requests for how to clean our touch readers. We did lose a fairly large job. We had a return of 140 touch readers because people decided that it just wasn't going to work, but they replaced most of them with wave readers. So it worked out just fine for us. The question now, that the big push in biometrics is touchless, contactless biometrics. And of course, everybody's asking for a temperature sensor. We were in almost at the end of the development of our facial recognition product when the COVID hit. So we did not have a temperature sensor on board. We're currently working right now to get one done and get it to market as an add-on piece so we can add it to existing readers as well. But like I said, we're seeing a lot of opportunity for contactless, frictionless biometrics. And we're going to see a lot more of that as it goes down the road. People don't seem to be worrying so much about the cost. I would estimate that the cost of a touchless biometric is probably 3 or 4 times what the fingerprint readers are, or more. And yet people are still going for it because at this point they don't want to take any chances. I've read some studies that say that the attitude from this, the impression and the fear, is going to take 17 months or longer to die down. And so I think we'll be riding a wave for quite a while. After this is over. Hopefully it'll be over soon. We were lucky. We didn't really have to shut down our factories at all for very long. So we were able to maintain production. We got very close to our quota for the first quarter. Obviously this quarter things are a little bit slower, but overall the company numbers are good and the activity, like I said, is through the roof.
So with this, and there's just a lot of rush from people, like you said, a lot of people looking at it. It also brings an opportunity for misinformation in a lot of cases. So do you have any recommendations for people that are interested in the technology? If I'm a dealer or an integrator, or I'm a company looking to incorporate this in, or even as an end user, because we have some listeners in that capacity, you know, what recommendations do you have of how to get smart on this real quick?
Well, the first thing most people need to realize is that no matter what biometric device they're using on an access control system, in the end, it is really nothing more than a weekend card reader. Once they've connected it to the access control system and they've enrolled people in it, all that reader is going to do is send a weekend code to the panel, just like every HID, Prox reader, every smart card reader, every keypad. They all do the same thing. So in that case, these are no more complicated. The learning curve is learning whatever software you're using for whichever products you're enrolling. We have done software level integrations with most of the major access control manufacturers in the industry. So for most of our customers, it's going to be a pretty seamless integration. They just have to download our software and something we call BioBridge, which is our bridge from our software called Morpho Manager to an access control package like a Galaxy or a Honeywell or one of those companies out there. So we make the enrollment as seamless as possible. In most cases, if they're in that company's software, they can just click on a button or a box and it will bring up the enrollment package with the person's name and weekend code already loaded in there, so there's not much to do. So it really is pretty simple. Like I say, the biggest part of the learning curve for them is going to be learning how the enrollment works. But once the enrollment is done, it's just like any other card reader in the access control market.
Gotcha. Is there specific verticals right now that are more popular than others that are aggressively looking at this, like in the commercial, restaurant, or where are you seeing the majority of the
The
interest?
biggest activity we're seeing right now, I think, is in education. And I think a lot of colleges are taking advantage of this in order to get work done while their schools are empty. So they get finishing projects. I've got 6 different universities just on my opportunity list. I don't know about the rest of the guys in my company, but I figure it's pretty substantial. We're seeing a lot of activity from colleges. Part of the reason is we partner with a company called Blackboard, or I think it's now called Transact. And they do payment systems for meals and bookstores and things like that. And they're using our Wave device as well. So a lot of the universities are noticing this product and then taking advantage of it. And also we're seeing a lot more in commercial stuff, again, because the buildings are empty, they can take on big projects that they might have been putting off. So we're seeing a lot of activity in office buildings in general, and particularly in banks, financial institutions.
Gotcha. So if somebody wanted to find out more information, where would they go?
They can go to idemia.com and find everything there, or they can certainly contact me, bruce.schwartz@idemia.com.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Give us some background on the product. Get to know you a bit better, know the product and the company better. So, thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really enjoyed this, Lee.
Thank you, sir.